Let me just ask you about Russia. That DOJ investigation continues with the special counsel, Robert Mueller. There's the Senate Intelligence Committee. What can you tell us about those probes?
Well, Robert Mueller works on the criminal side. We work on the side of making judgments that you can talk about to the American people in a way that doesn't violate classification rules about how our democracy was hacked. Now, sometimes the lines blur. I've made a special focus on what I call the follow the money issues, and this goes back all the way to 2008 when the Trump family said much of their portfolio, and that was a time when it was hard to get money, involved Russian investments. So Jared Kushner came to the Intelligence Committee. It was in a closed session, but then he went out and read or made available his public statement, and he said things like, well, we don't rely on the Russians for our financing. As soon as I saw that, I said, hey, the word rely is a subjective word. He's not saying he has no business dealings with the Russians. He's not saying he's never had business dealings with the Russians. So I'm going to insist that Jared Kushner come before the Senate Intelligence Committee for an open hearing so I can ask those questions.
I read that the chair of the committee, Richard Burr, has said that he wants to wrap up your committee hearings by the end of the year. Do you think that's a good idea? Is that possible?
I believe an investigation goes where the facts lead, and you don't set an arbitrary date. And particularly on these issues relating to follow the money, it can, and Bob Mueller has now got, according to the newspaper, something like 16 people, 14 of them with expertise on financial crimes. You take the time to do it right. I think the American people know that this speaks to, in effect, who the government represents. Does the government represent the millions of people in this country who vote for a president, pay taxes, work hard, or is a group running the executive branch looking out mostly for themselves?